Thank you for inviting your followers. Awesome. Thanks, Victoria. Is this the first open box? No, I did the open box yesterday. I didn't really do an open box video because there wasn't really anything new to see that didn't, it looked any different than the original iPhone 6. So we won't be doing an unboxing, so to speak. I've already unboxed it and set it up. Otherwise, this would be a very, very, very long broadcast. Thanks for inviting all your followers, guys. That's awesome. And why don't we go ahead? Looks like we have a quorum. Why don't we go ahead and jump right in? Thanks for joining me on Periscope. Thanks for joining me for this Terryscope. And thanks for joining me on Facebook. We're going to dive right in here. And why don't we go ahead and take the iPhone out of the box? Let's do that first. So first of all, before we even do that, you can see the packaging. For those of you who have a 6 or 6 Plus, there was no picture on the box, really. It was kind of just like a white outline of an iPhone and the name, of course, on it, but you really didn't see any pictures. So at least this time, now they're doing new artwork to... Oh, thanks for that. Terryscope sounds good on Periscope. Actually, I have just set up terryscope.com. So if you go to that, it'll take you right to my Periscope profile. But anyway, yeah, they're doing different colors and different designs on the boxes based on the color that you get. So this one looks kind of gold to me. That's because I got the gold iPhone. Are there any new Apple plan? Are on the Apple plan? No, I'm not on the Apple plan. Guys, I got tired of doing the whole contract thing and being locked in and can't upgrade when I want to. So for the past, this is now my third iPhone where I just buy them factory unlocked and then I sell the previous model on eBay or to a friend or whoever, and that way I just keep recycling them. So I buy mine factory unlocked. That way I'm not committed to any contract. I can switch out phones anytime I get ready. Just put my SIM card in any phone I want and away I go. So this is the factory unlocked, very expensive factory unlocked model. Now the only other difference between this and my previous one, you can see that it's the 128 gig model. I made the mistake last time of going with 64, and I regretted it for the last 8 and 10 months because I was always running out of space. And you would think 64 gigs enough until things come along like Periscope and live streaming and video and more photos and more this and more that. So yeah, video kills storage, and I'm doing more and more videos and shooting more and more stuff and doing live streaming and all that. So I knew even if there were no new features, I'd be getting a new phone just to get the 128 gig version. So if they didn't come out with a phone this year, I probably would have gone ahead, sold mine, and upgraded to a 128 gig version just to have more space. So that was the biggest justification for me to go to more space was to go to another phone was to have more space. Someone said share video on the cloud. Yeah, actually I do that all the time with with YouTube, of course, but also with Adobe Premiere Clip, which is an iPhone app. You can download that app free from the App Store. You can record your videos, of course, with your regular camera. You can edit them in Premiere Clip. And then once they're edited, you can share them on the cloud or share them online. As a matter of fact, it will even sync them to the cloud so that when you get back to your desk, the videos are there and ready to work on or continue working on. Okay, so let's go ahead and, without further ado, let's take it out of the box. Ready? Here we go. Wait, it's smaller. That's kind of weird. It doesn't quite fit the packaging the way I would expect. There's all this extra space. And wait, oh, hold on. It's kind of thick, too. Wow. Kind of fits good in the hand, though. Kind of like that. And it's got this big 30-pin data connector on the bottom of it. Wow. I bet you can get a lot of data going through that at one time. Oh, there's a camera. Okay, there's the new camera I heard so much about. I don't see a flash, but maybe that's kind of built in or something. Okay. Well, anyway. All right, yeah, guys, I'm just kidding. This is the original iPhone, so you'd have some perspective. You know, we've got to have a little fun with you on a Saturday. So The original iPhone, I have a few of these still around. I like to just bring them up to remind me of how far we've come. This was, for those of you who don't know what the original iPhone looks like, yep, it's the original iPhone, but more to the point is that it was only 2G, not even 3G, it was Edge. So it was, and no app store. What you had on it, there's no apps basically other than the ones that came with it. That's it. This was no app store. You had whatever apps that came on it, and that was kind of all you could do. It came in one color, silver, and it came in a storage of all of 8 gigs. So no multiple options. They did come out with more options later, 16 gigs, so forth and so on, but this was what the original looked like. And the one button, headphone jack on the top, SIM tray on the top, on, off, and mute still there, and 30-pin connector on the bottom. Nothing on the other side, which was interesting. And that's the original design. Okay, so now with that out of the way, here's the iPhone 6 Plus, or 6S Plus, which I have in the case. And like I said, it looks exactly like the original, except that it has the S, original 6, it has the S on the back. So that's it. You wouldn't really be able to tell the difference. As a matter of fact, if I were to mix these up, because here's a 6 Plus versus a 6S Plus, they are virtually no difference on the outside. You would not be able to tell if it weren't for that S on the 6S Plus, which one's which. Okay, so that was just to show you what the differences are. I'm going to put the 6 Plus away now so I don't get confused, and we're going to put the box away, and we can start our tour. All right, so first thing, like I said, for me, let me get out of my notifications here. First thing for me is just, again, having more storage. Now, you might say, well, wow, do you really need 128 gigs of storage? Well, let's go to my storage and see what I've got going on here. Let's go to General, and let's go to Storage and iCloud. And I've got 61.78 gigs available now, and I was on a 64 gig. So, as you can see, I barely had any storage left, and I didn't really put a whole bunch of new stuff on here. But you're probably saying, well, what's taking up all that space? Do you have like millions of photos and millions of videos? And not really. I kind of keep the videos off of it. I kind of get those off as soon as possible. But you'll notice that there's 497 apps. 497 on the apps. So that's where a lot of my storage is coming up. So my apps I use a lot of apps. I use a lot of things. And you might say, well, 497, do you really use them all? Probably not all of them, but certainly, not all of them every day by any means, but certainly most of them. I use a lot of my apps a lot of the time. So I like to keep them. Yeah, 497, I know. So, okay, so with that, let's talk about the first new feature, especially for my photographers in the group. Let's talk about the camera. So let's go to the camera app. And the camera app is exactly the same as far as the app is concerned, with a couple of new additions. But the main thing is that it's now a 12 megapixel sensor instead of a 8 megapixel sensor. So your shots will be higher resolution. They should be a little sharper. The sensor is a little bit better, of course, than the previous models. So it's probably the best camera that Apple's ever done on their iPhone. You'll also notice the new Live Photos button at the top there. So when you tap that, it'll say the word live to let you know, and you'll see the little yellow dot there to let you know that you're shooting live photos. We'll get to that in a minute. But I'm going to turn it off for now. And the other thing, which is kind of cool, we're going to do this first before we talk about live photos. Let's switch to the selfie camera. So there I am on the selfie camera, and you'll notice something that's brand new that you didn't have before. And in the upper left-hand corner, there's flash. You can actually turn on a flash for the selfie camera. So first upgrade is that the selfie camera is 1.0 or I'm sorry, 5 megapixels instead of the original 1.2 megapixels. So a big jump in selfie quality. For those of you who are doing Periscope or doing any other kind of live broadcast where you have the camera on you a lot, your live broadcasts are going to look better from now on because you have a better camera for the selfies. And your selfies, of course, will look better. But let's talk about the flash. There's no hardware flash on the camera. There's nothing on the front of it. What it's doing is it will quickly measure the temperature, color temperature of the room. So like you can see, I've got a yellow light on behind me, and I did that on purpose. There's a yellow light in that corner. It will measure that yellow light that it sees and do a flash on the screen that's a bright yellow flash to kind of match what's going on. So for example, let's go ahead and take the shot, and really it's more about the flash. Go ahead and take a look at it. Okay, so here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And I know it's hard to see the color on Periscope and on Facebook, but if we go to it, notice how good the color actually looks in the photo. That's the still photo, where it actually matched the color of the room, the lighting conditions of the room, to light the subject. So you're going to get better selfies all the way around because you got higher megapixel selfies, 5 megapixels. And if you're in a low light situation, you can now have a flash for your selfies. And again, for those of you who do live streaming where you're pointing the camera at yourself, you now have the ability to have a higher resolution selfie camera for your live streams. All right, so let's switch this back around. And let me go out of this for 1 second. I'm going to go to the Settings app. We're going to talk about one more thing here in the Settings app. Let's go to Photos and Cameras. So I just want to point this out. Now, the video camera also got a significant upgrade. It can now do 4K video, but thank God Apple does not default to that, because there'd be a lot of people that would be pissed off that their storage is gone instantly. If we go to record video, you'll notice that I have an option. It's on 1080p at 30 frames per second for HD by default, and thank you. That's what the default should be. Anything else just eats up more storage, whereas most people are never going to take, well, I shouldn't say never. Most people are not going to take advantage of it right away. So, for example, I could switch to 4K video right now, and if I go back to the camera, let's go ahead. Yep, 1080p at 60 frames per second as well. If I go to the video right now, it will remind me in the bottom right-hand corner that I'm on 4K, because it knows that I'm going to be eating up a lot of space to record that video, and it's making sure, hey, you're on 4K. Do you want to be on 4K or not? And of course, the answer for me for most of the time will be not. Now, someone pointed it out on Periscope. Yes, there's now 1080p 60 frames per second, so you'll get smoother video that won't eat up as much space. Now, for those of you who can't read this at the bottom, Apple kind of gives you a guideline of what it will take for the video. For example, if you did 1 minute of video, how much space it would eat up. So on the default of 1080p at 30 frames per second, 1 minute of video would be 130 megabytes. Not too bad. But at 60 frames per second, it would be 200 megabytes. And at 4K, it would be 375 megabytes. So if you did the math, that's 1 gig of space used up for every 3 minutes of video. So again, 1 gig of space for 3 minutes of video. And if you've got a 16 gig phone, don't think about it. And as a matter of fact, if I can persuade you of anything today, it's don't get the 16 gig phone. At least get a 64. And if you're going to do a lot of these things that we're going to show today, then go all the way up to the 128. But 64, I would say, is the minimum. I can't even see why Apple even offers a 16 gig anymore. I don't know who that's for. But, yeah, don't do it. Okay, so that's where you go change the setting if you do want 4K. The times I can think about doing 4K is when I'm far away from the event that I'm recording, and I don't want to use digital zoom. I can record it at 4K, Then in post-production, like in Premiere Pro, I can crop down to just the scene that I want and still have great video. So that would be one reason I would use 4K. The other reason is I do shoot for stock, Adobe stock in particular. Video is coming at some point. And if I were going to shoot video for stock, I'd probably want those short 1-minute clips to be in 4K as well, just for the future. But everything else, just around the house, just recording stuff that isn't, you know, what do they call them, a life event, then I would just go ahead and keep it on 1080p. If I'm recording baby's first steps or, you know, a wedding or something like that, something that is a keepsake forever, then you might want to think about 4K. Everything else, 1080p or 720p. All right, so with that out of the way, let's talk about the live photo feature. So live photos, let's go back to the camera. And again, I turned it off, but let's go ahead and tap, thank you, and I'm glad you guys appreciate it. Let's go ahead and tap the icon to turn on live photos. So that little yellow indicator, I'll show it to you right there. That little yellow indicator means that live photos is on. So when you do a live photo, you're still going to frame the image the way you want. You're still going to capture the image the way you want. But when you capture it, what it was doing the minute you brought this up and you turned it on live is it was capturing and buffering 3 seconds of video at all times. In other words, while this is on, it's capturing 3 seconds of video, dumping the oldest 3 seconds. So it's constantly, like a DVR, constantly buffering that 3 seconds. It's not buffering 30 seconds or 3 minutes, so I can keep this on all day, and it will still only buffer 3 seconds. The last 3 seconds count. And so it's going to give you that 3 seconds before the photo, and I think a second after the photo, or maybe a couple seconds after the photo. So if we go look at that photo I just did, and now it looks like the regular photo because that's what it is, but if I hold it down, we'll hear my voice, and we'll see it move a little bit because I was moving the camera with my hand. Now, obviously, not that great for what we just did, but if we go, here, let's go back a photo. Here's one of my dog, Lisa. I took her out for a walk before the scope. And now if I hold it down on this, we see those few seconds before. And if I keep holding it down, we'll see those few seconds even after. So let's look at another one. Here's another one. Again, hold it down. We'll see those few seconds before and after, but we still have the actual photo. So same thing here. Now, so if I share this to someone, they're not getting the live photo, they're just getting the photo. They're not getting 3 seconds of video. That's only for you on your Apple devices. It should make its way into the Photos app on your Mac. It'll, of course, be on your iOS devices. And, of course, you'll be able to see it in your photos that you've taken with live photo. They eat up about twice as much space as a 12 megapixel image. So again, you're going to use it sparingly. You're only going to turn it on when you need it or want it. If you're especially capturing something that is hard to take standing still, like this dog doesn't want to stand still for my shots. She hates having her picture taken. Then it's cool to get those few seconds before where she's like confused, like, why did we stop walking? Why are you pointing this camera at me now? Why are you taking my picture? You know I hate my picture being taken. Let me turn away. And you'll have that. You'll have all of that before you take the picture. So cool to have the live photo feature. And again, cool to have the ability to turn it on and turn it off as needed. So again, you can leave it off most of the time. I probably will leave it off most of the time because if I'm just snapping stills, especially things that aren't moving, I don't need that extra space being eaten up by live photos of things. Like, for example, if I were taking a picture of this, why would I need a live photo of it? I don't need, taking a picture of the box. The box is not moving. No need for a live photo. So that's why there is an on-off for it. You take it as needed. All right, so that's live photo. Now, one extra hidden gem. These are the kinds of things that we watch my scopes for, that the kind of things that maybe aren't clear or things that Apple didn't talk about. So let's get out of this for a second. And let's go back to my lock screen. And then let's just turn the phone back on. Now you see that photo? That's new, but that's a live desktop picture. So we can see it move just by holding my finger down on it. And guess what? Your live photos can be your desktop wallpaper. So if you have a live photo that you really love, when you set that as your wallpaper for your lock screen, you'll always be able to relive that moment or those few seconds before that moment just by pressing your finger down on the screen while that photo is being shown. So if you're wondering, where did this cool one come from? Yes, I took this in my spare time last night. No, just kidding. Let's get out of this. Let's go back in. Let's go to settings. Let's get out of that. Get out of that. So you guys like that? I don't see any hearts flying. You guys must not care. Periscope? No comments on Facebook? What's going on here? All right, so anyway, oh, there are the hearts. Okay, just checking. We have people. All right, so choose a wallpaper, and now you'll see that there are dynamic, which are those are the kinds that were, what's the term? Parallax scrolling or moving. The stills, just regular stills, and now live. You have live as a category. So if I go to live, these are the ones that Apple include, which, again, they match the ones on the box, so you'll have those to play with. If you like the image on the box, you have them now. And if you pick one, you can preview it right on the screen here before you set it, and you can just kind of see what it does just by holding your finger down on it to see if you like that one or not. And notice you get the option. Maybe you don't want it to move. You can still have it as a still or live photo. So if you just want that to be a still photo, that could be a still photo as your desktop, or I keep calling it desktop, your wallpaper, or not. Here, let's do the one that was on my box, I believe. Oh, no, that's not the one on my box, but I like this one. So I could definitely see going down to the aquarium, getting some cool jellyfish live photos, and making those wallpaper images. Those would be kind of cool. All right, let's try this one. This looks more like my box there. And let's try that. Oh, that's cool. That one waves kind of fast. I like that. Sweet. All right, so you get the idea. And of course, I picked one of these. I picked that one. Let's see what these other ones do. Very cool. And this one. Haven't looked at this one yet. Very cool. And the one that I picked was this one because I just like the color. And you can, of course, switch up as much as you want because those are built in. So they're taking up the space they're going to take up whether you use them or not. Can it play automatically? No, live photos are just that. They're photos until you make them live with your finger. All right, while we're at it, let's talk about Touch ID. So Touch ID has been around since the 5S, where basically you can set up fingerprints to unlock phones, apps, things like that. The hardware for the 6S, the Touch ID is now instantaneous. You might remember on the 6 and the 5S, you'd hold your finger down, there'd be a slight delay before you could get into something, maybe a second, 2 seconds at the most. But now, it's instant. There is no delay, basically. When you lock your phone and when you wake it up, it's that quick. So it's as fast as you can basically put your finger on to unlock your phone, unlock your apps, and of course do Apple Pay. On my last video about iOS 9, I left out, I showed it on Periscope, but I left it out on the YouTube video. So if you didn't see my Periscope, here's just kind of a hidden gem. If you want to quickly get to Apple Pay, and keep in mind that even though I'm showing you the shortcut to open it, you still need the fingerprint to be able to pay for something. So it's not like you can go to someone else's phone and say, aha, I can go to your phone and bring up Apple Pay and pay for stuff because you don't have their fingerprint. All right, but now if you just double click or double tap the home button, it will take you right to Apple Pay. So again, it just takes you right to that card, your default card. You can swipe to the other ones, but you still can't pay without the fingerprint. So yes, you could grab my phone and get to that screen, but it doesn't do you much good if you can't actually complete a transaction. So it is still secure that way. And of course, if you don't want that feature, you can turn it off. All right. Speaking of faster hardware, Just faster all the way around. Of course, it's got the new A9 processor in it, so it's a faster phone, faster Wi-Fi, and faster 4G LTE. So I've been noticing the speed has been incredible so far. All right, guys, let's get to the big feature. Let's get to the one that most people are talking about, and it's 3D Touch. 3D Touch is the thing that most reviewers are just happy about. And what it is you have your regular display, but now your display is pressure sensitive. Based on the amount of pressure you press down, you can do what's called a peek or pop up. Peek into an app or pop up a window in an app based on the amount of pressure that you apply. So this first appeared on the Apple trackpad on the new MacBooks. Then, of course, Force Touch is on the Apple Watch, and think of it as right click for your iPhone. You know how you can click on an app to launch it, but if you right click, you get more features. So that's the best analogy I've heard so far. Just think of it as right click, and you can get to more stuff quicker than you would to launch the app and then go to those things manually. So for example, let's say I know I want to browse the web, and I know I want a new tab. In other words, I don't want to have to open up Safari, then tap the new tab button. Well, if I just press and hold with pressure on Safari, it brings up the 3D Touch options for Safari, one of which being new tab. So when I do that, it'll take me straight to a new tab in Safari, and I can begin my URL to get to that. Okay, so that's one. Let's see. I have a list of apps that this works in. Let's see. Okay, in Mail, it shows that I have 5 messages there waiting. If I do 3D Touch, not Force Touch. 3D Touch, it shows me I can get to all my mailboxes, my VIP messages, which I don't have any unread. I can search or do a new message right off the bat. So if I want to compose a message, again, rather than having to launch Mail, then tap on the new mail message button, I can just go right to it from there, and away I go. So let's go to all messages, and here, let's scroll up. And for example, here's an Amazon message I got from it's an advertisement of something on Amazon. Well, I want to see what it is, but I don't want to spend time going into it to see what it is. So if I Force Touch, that brings it up, I let go, I saw what it was. Okay, I know what that is now. If I Force Touch again, and I swipe up, now I can actually do things with it. I can reply to it. I can forward. I can mark it as red or mark it as a flag, notify me or more. So, and of course, if I hold down more or more pressure, in other words, there's 2 levels, that will actually take me into the message itself. Now, while you're in the message, you know how sometimes people will either message you links or email you links. Well, those are fair game for 3D Touch as well. So there's a today's deal link right there. If I Force Touch or 3D Touch on that, it'll actually render the web page so I can quickly look at it and then go to it if I want, and away I go. So here, let's go back. Oh, I forgot there's a back to mail button, but anyway. And again, Force Touch shows me the deals. And if I want to swipe up, I can do more options, or swipe down and away they go. Or Force Touch, 3D Touch, and press harder to actually go to that web page. So this is going to be definitely a big time saver for people that use mail, use messages, use things where Force Touch is enabled. And this is the kind of stuff we do all day, right? You get an attachment, you want to see it, but you don't necessarily want to tap on it and see it. You just want to see it real quick, see if it's what you want, and then get out of it. Now, where I found this to be really cool is in messages. I sent myself some text messages just so I'd have some stuff to play with. But in messages, there's a photo, and if I Force Touch or 3D Touch on that photo, I can again swipe up and copy, save, and forward it, or get out of it. If I just wanted to see it, pop it up, pan around it, let go, and back it goes. Now notice that there's a URL down here at the bottom. Again, it goes to terrywhite.com. If I Force Touch on, or 3D Touch, not Force Touch, keep calling it the wrong thing, but 3D Touch, that will show me that web page while I'm in messages. When I let go, the web page goes away. So I saved time by not having to go to Safari just to see that link. I just want to pop it up, see what that link is all about. Don't care, move back out. Now here's an address. Actually, it was the address to my very first office in downtown Detroit. One that I typed off the top of my head. If I 3D touch on that, it brings up the map to where that is. If I hold down harder, it will actually take me to the Maps app. So I can now navigate to that location if I want it. And iOS 9 includes a back button, so I can go back to messages to get right back to where I was. So pictures, addresses, links, they're all fair game in the Apple apps for 3D Touch. But 3D Touch is not just for Apple apps. It's also for third-party apps. Third parties can include 3D Touch. So you'll start seeing updates, if you haven't already, that support 3D Touch. And one of those updates, let's move this out of my way. One of these updates is actually in Instagram, an app I use all the time. So if I go to Instagram and I just want to make a new post right off the bat, just hold down on the Instagram, tap new post, and away I go to my Instagram and already geared up to post a new picture. View activity, search, and direct message. So Instagram's got it already. Let's see what else has it. Oh, this is a cool one. I don't use it as much now that I use Siri, but let's say you're into, anybody use Shazam out there? Any Shazam users? No? No one cares about Shazam anymore? All right, Shazam was that app. Okay, there's one guy. Shazam's the app that lets you listen to music, or the app listens to music and tells you what song is playing. And now you can just say, Siri, what song is playing, and it uses Shazam to do that. But if you do like Shazam, it's got 3D Touch as well. So you can not only launch the app, but you can launch the app and go right to Shazam now. I'm listening to something. I want to know what it is right now. I don't want any muss or fuss. Just let me listen, Shazam, and Shazam it right now. So third-party apps can also use 3D Touch on the home screens and, of course, in their apps as well. There was one more example. Oh, yeah. Let me go to my notes. Here, let me type a note real quick, or bring up the notes app. Let me see what it's going to go to. And let's just go to that note we were creating on the other video. All right, so I've got my notes app up, and if I tap, of course, to get into the notes to edit, it brings up the keyboard. Well, this is another hidden gem. This is one of those you would never, ever guess on your own unless you did it by accident. I know I would have never found this. Ready? 3D Touch. Nope, it's no different on the iPhone 6S. 6S and 6S Plus are the same for a 3D Touch. 3D Touch on the keyboard. Like, you would never think to press down on the keyboard while you're typing, right? 3D Touch brings up a gray keyboard, and now you can navigate the cursor around your document while you're in 3D Touch. So if you've ever tried to tap and use the magnifying glass and all that stuff to get your cursor exactly where you want it, so I want it right between the S and the C, I let go, my cursor's right now between the S and the C. I don't have to press up there with my thumb in the way, let the magnifying glass pop up to show me what's going on. Just use 3D Touch on the keyboard itself. You can move the cursor around, and supposedly you can press down harder to make selections. I've not yet gotten that to work, but someone said you can make selections with this as well. So 3D Touch on any keyboard or any Apple keyboard in any app should allow you to move the cursor around while you're pressing hard on the screen. All right, and put the cursor where you want it. So that's the new 3D Touch feature that people are going gaga about. And here's another hidden one. If you 3D touch on the edge of the screen, and see, it depends on where you are. Let's see if I can do it. No, see, it wants to edit this. So let me go to another app that's not editing. Let me go back to Safari. So if I 3D touch on the edge of the screen, it will allow you to bring up multitasking. So 3D Touch brings up multitasking without you having to double tap the home key. And again, it's not going to work well on apps where it thinks you're trying to place the cursor there, but any other app should be fine to be able to multitask just by pressing your finger down on the edge, left edge I don't know if it works on the right edge. Let's see. Nope, left edge of the screen. There we go. We'll bring it up. Got to hold it down and swipe, and then you bring it up multitasking. So multitasking on the 6S and 6S Plus with 3D Touch. All right, guys, here's the last one. Let's get back to the home screen. Now, again, this is one of those, I didn't know this was going to be here. I guess I didn't read this part. You guys know about Hey Siri, right? Hey Siri is the feature that if your iPhone's plugged in and you've trained it under iOS 9 or turned it on iOS 9 and then trained it to your voice, you can utter those words and it will wake up and go right to Siri. Unfortunately, though, on all other devices except the 6S and 6S Plus, your phone has to be plugged in. Like it has to be plugged into power in order for that to work. On the 6S and 6S Plus, it does not have to be plugged into power. So let's see if I can do it here. I've got stuff in the way because I want you to be able to see it. But let's see. Hey, Siri. When do the Falcons play?
The Falcons-Cowboys game is tomorrow at 1 p.m.
So there it is. Hey, Siri now works.
The Falcons-Cowboys game is tomorrow at 1 p.m.
When you say those words, hey, and her name, it will actually activate her on a 6S and 6S Plus if you have that feature turned on, even if the power is not plugged in. All right, guys, it's been a long scope. What do you think so far? Questions, comments, opinions, or feelings? You guys have been awfully quiet. This is the quietest scope and Facebook mentions. I haven't seen a single comment on Facebook yet. You guys have been extremely quiet. Okay, you're in love with the features. Awesome. Lots of hearts flying now. Cool. Glad you guys got it. So did this help you guys in any way? Like think that the 6S and 6S Plus are more than you thought they were. I know, iOS 9 was definitely more than I thought it was. And the 6S and 6S Plus, when you do a little digging, are definitely more than I thought they were as well. Because typically, I'm just turning cameras around here. I watch the Apple keynotes. I see what they show off, but it's usually, of course, they can't show everything in the time frame they're trying to do a keynote. Keynotes are already, 2 hours long. So they can't show you every little feature. And even when I go to the website, I was like very underwhelmed at iOS 9. I didn't think it had anything in it. And once I started digging a little deeper and saw all the features, and then of course, same thing on the new iPhones, they talk about the top 3 or top 4 features, but they don't really show you all the cool stuff that it can do. So typically S upgrades like the 4S, 5S, and now 6S, those are typically incremental upgrades with no major outer hardware redesign. Usually if there's anything hardware, it's on the inside. So next year we can probably expect an iPhone 7 that will be completely redesigned, just like the 6 was from the 5 and the 5 was from the 4. But for an incremental upgrade, it's hot. I love it. Do I recommend it for someone on a 6? I'll say the thing I always say. If you're under contract, it's not worth breaking a contract for. But if you're like I am, contract free, or you are on one of the Edge plans or plans where you can upgrade every year, for me, it's worth it. And like I said, I would have been in the market to upgrade just to get 128 gigs because I made the mistake of not doing it last time. So now I have plenty of space. I have over 60, I think whatever it was, gigs available, 50-something gigs available now, and now I have room to breathe. I don't have to start deleting things when I want to capture a new picture, or I can't periscope on that phone and save the video at the same time. So your contract's up in December, Lynn. Are you thinking about upgrading, or are you going to wait for the 7? All right, so guys, give me a 1 if you're going to do a 6S or 6S Plus. Give me a 2 if you're going to wait for a 7. Or you're just not interested in the iPhone. And if you're not interested in the iPhone, then I can't imagine why you sat through this. Okay? Some waiting, some doing it. So I'm waiting, doing it. Yeah, like I said, if I didn't need the 128 and I was under contract, I'd definitely wait for a 7. But since I needed the space and I'm not under contract and I could, freely sell my old one, which by the way, it's on eBay right now. It ends tomorrow. So if you're interested in a good deal on a 6 Plus gold, you can, and unlocked, you can check out my eBay auction. Got a 6S Plus. Cool. What do you think of it? Waiting for the iPad Pro. Yes, Victoria, I know you are. Victoria is so ready for the Apple Pencil so she can sketch and paint and draw. So the iPhone is one thing, but the iPad Pro is definitely something for her. And like for me, I could care less about the iPad Pro for the most part. I'm happy with my iPad Air 2. It's fast enough. I got a 128 gig version of that. I don't really draw or sketch, although the pencil could come handy for retouching. But iPad Pro I probably will not buy with my own money. But iPhone 6S, I definitely did and love it. Great, got the 128. Yeah, the 128, especially, I think back to the 6 Plus and it was $100 difference. That's all it is. It's just another $100 and you can double the space. And I would have gladly paid $100 for the last 8 months, 10 months to be able to have that extra space. And yes, Adobe apps on the iPad Pro. So stay tuned. We showed some cool stuff at the Apple keynote and more to come. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I'm going to let you get back to your Saturdays. And thanks for the hearts. Yes, more hearts. Tap, 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 tap. I'll give you a few more seconds to tap. I'll be doing more Periscopes this week. I'll also be doing a lot of Periscopes the following week at Adobe Max. Yes, peace out. And take care. Yes, hearts. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for following. Thanks for all the love. And we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.